welcome to a brand new edition of the Lasching Out Podcast on the Nittany Sports Now Network. My name is Jarrod Prugar, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Kevin Quigley. Kevin, we recorded last week. Penn State was on the cusp of announcing Matt Campbell's hiring. That is now since official. And since he has become the head coach at the Pennsylvania State University, a lot has happened throughout the Big Ten. He is no longer the shortest tenured coach in the Big Ten. We'll get to that later in the broadcast. But the first impression that I'm gathering from him is he's real, he's genuine, he wants this job, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to make Penn State succeed. And that's exactly what Pat Kraft and Neely Mendapudi were looking for all along throughout this long, arduous coaching search.
Yeah, I think, you look at some of the names that floated around or that were available in this coaching cycle. Brian Kelly, not a genuine dude, got some bad baggage around him. Lane Kiffin's got, he's got some bodies in his closet, alleged some situations for some infidelity there. Kind of just like a frat bro vibe, like not in a good way frat bro. Not a man of, you wouldn't think of Lane Kiffin as, a man of necessarily high character. And then you get Matt Campbell, and Penn State's been a program where it's been about integrity. It's been about just being genuine. It's been about high character, good students, like students before they're athletes. And he just seems to check all those boxes. And yeah, you mentioned it. Like he definitely seems like he wants to be there. Obviously, he waited very much so for the right job to come open for him after a decade at Iowa State. But happy that he's here, and I think the era is off to a hot start. Obviously, he's not going to coach in the Pinstripe Bowl, but formulating his staff for next season. There's been some recruits from Iowa State that are already recruiting back to Penn, that are already committed to Penn State to come. So that class is, I think, now up to five players, up from 2. So any momentum is good momentum at this point in time after the coaching search lasted seemingly forever, even though it was probably realistically only a week. But yeah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Obviously, there's a lot to go off of, but right now, the biggest thing for him is that he's real, right? He's speaking with passion and speaking from the heart, and that's something that I don't know that is fair to say about James Franklin, especially towards the end of his tenure at Penn State. And I think that's what, to me, is the coolest thing about it. Is like everything that he says, it's very much like Terry Smith. It's coming from a pure place, and it's so genuine, and it's so refreshing too, because we get a lot lost in the used car salesman sauce of James Franklin in a lot of different ways. And don't get me wrong, we're going to look back on James Franklin's time here, and I think there's going to be a lot of success. There was a lot of success. It's not. I think there's going to be. There was a lot of success. It's always going to be. There should have been more. Right, there was a lot of meat left on the bone based solely on how he coached and how he handled the game day experience. But for Matt Campbell, we don't know what that's like yet, so we're just going off of what's going on right now. Everything that he's saying has been phenomenal. He mentions Todd Blackledge and Jack Ham and Kyle Brady and Joe Paterno, all in the same press conference. Nobody says Joe Paterno. That has been the elephant in the room since the scandal happened in 2012, and that's, I think, a lot of the reasons, good for a good reason. It has been the elephant in the room, but Terry Smith immediately did it. Matt Campbell goes and did it, and I think for Penn State, that was such a big part of your history, right? And I think when you acknowledge that, you don't run from your past. Embrace that there were mistakes made. You embrace that there were bad things that transpired, but you can't run from it. You got to own it. Show accountability, which is something, again, that we're going to talk about later in this broadcast, because there are schools and adults all over the place that don't understand what accountability is, or have a fear of taking accountability when they make a mistake, which is crazy, absolutely crazy concept. But for a first impression, you have to like what you see from him. He's got a really nice blend of his guys from Iowa State coming, and he's got a really nice blend of some certain guys around Penn State as well. And I think there's significant value And it's just one of those situations where if they're able to kind of bridge that gap and bring them together in a nice little unity, it will be a really good situation.
Yeah, just to do some housekeeping, just to do some tracking. Ty Howell is going to Virginia Tech to be their offensive coordinator. Danny O'Brien will join him as the quarterbacks coach. Chuck Losey will be their strength and conditioning coach at Virginia Tech. And then Joey Schlaffer and Elliot Washington II are currently the only two players to enter the transfer portal from that initial transfer portal window. Don't know if Moore will leave, or there's obviously going to be another opportunity for them to leave after the bowl game. Maybe they want to play the bowl game for Penn State after what they worked for, after what they've done with Terry Smith. But yeah, I think the difference that you're going to see, I think that I already see early on in the coaching search is that, or in this coaching change, is that James Franklin was about the messaging and always about the image and, trying to position himself to be with the taglines, the 1-0s, the unrivaled, the, where,
The "We Are
all of
Better"
his,
tweets. We haven't seen a single "We Are Better" tweet or recruiting tweet for the last three recruits.
yeah, like James Franklin is really trying to control his image in the media. Not that Matt Campbell isn't. Matt Campbell doesn't. It seems like he doesn't care. Like his image is what he is. Like he doesn't have to create it. He doesn't have to put this persona out because it's just what he is. So I'm interested to see that, and like that's good news for Penn State because James Franklin was trying to be the CEO. He's trying to control the company's messages. Matt Campbell is just a football coach, and he's bringing in guys to be his quote unquote CEOs. He's bringing in his GMs. He's bringing in his assistant GMs. Like he's bringing in people to manage that side of thing, to manage the NIL, to manage the finances. Whereas James Franklin probably bit off more than he can chew, or maybe he shouldn't have been a football coach. Maybe he should have been a football GM. Maybe he should have transferred into that role. So it's definitely going to be a difference on the way the program is run. Well, it's to be seen if it's for the better. Personally, I think it will be for the better because if you have a guy who solely coaches, focused on development and coaching versus everything else, it can't do anything but help the on-field product. If he can recruit at any sort of level of what James Franklin was able to do, man, this team could be really, really dangerous. It's yet to be seen, but if results are indicative of future performance, it's whatever they say on fidelity commercials. If he's able to develop the talent level that he was getting in Iowa State, imagine what he can do with the talent level that he's potentially going to be bringing into Penn State with the resources, the bigger school, the bigger talent pool. Just the DMV area is just that rich. Pennsylvania is just that rich. Can you go into Ohio and steal some recruits? Might there be a mass exodus of players from a Big Ten program here in a couple weeks? So a lot to be seen, but the first week has gone pretty well.
Yeah, and it's funny to kind of see the guys that are going going with Franklin at Virginia Tech. Obviously, you got Brent Pry there, which is very bizarre. Another coach that got an extension that has been lesser talked about is Ricky Ronnie, former offensive coordinator for Franklin. I know there was a rumor saying that James Franklin wanted to bring him on as the offensive coordinator down at Virginia Tech. And why that matters is Ricky Ronnie is the reason why Brent Pry got fired at Virginia Tech in a weird twist because Old Dominion routinely beat Virginia Tech. Old Dominion shouldn't beat Virginia Tech more often than not, right? I mean, you're a Virginia guy. Nobody's ever, he beats them for the first two times ever. That series automatically got canceled by James Franklin, which is hilarious to me because that's kind of him dodging Pitt and some of the other bigger names around the area too. But he's keeping guys like Trace McSorley on the staff. There's rumors that Deion Barnes and Dan Connor aren't going anywhere either, plus some guys behind the scenes as well. It's good to have, obviously, Terry Smith, right? So having those guys around is imperative because they know the Penn State way to go about it, right? Matt Campbell knows what it was like as a fan. He's from Eastern Ohio. His family grew up in Western Pennsylvania. And he mentioned, growing up, going to Penn State games, watching Joe Paterno coach and those teams, right? And he's close with Todd Blackledge, which is really cool and a really unique thing. Having that blend and knowing that not everybody that has been lost to the coaching staff is really that big of a deal, so to speak. Jim Knowles went to Tennessee. Stan Drayton went to South Carolina. Phil Troutwine's back to his alma mater at Florida, which is cool. Marcus Higgins is gone, but it's not like any of those guys were home run type guys that needed to stay, right? So he's bringing in his own, and his guys look like they're legit, you know. And I think when you're able to do that and you surround yourself with the right group of people, it's going to be very, very cool to see. And you know, the Trace McSorley thing is funny because Peyton Falzone mentioned the two biggest recruiters in getting him to flip from Auburn back to Penn State were Terry Smith and Trace McSorley. So you knew that he was, I think at one point he knew that Trace is probably going to stick around. You don't make that decision the way with Trace potentially not being there, if you will.
Yeah, Ty Howell would have been probably a nice to have, tight end coach. But Taylor Mauser comes in as the offensive coordinator. He also coached tight ends at Iowa State. In addition to being offensive coordinator, do I want my OC being a position coach? Maybe not. But Iowa State, I watched some Iowa highlights. Wasn't fully paying attention to them, but like the tight ends played a prominent role at Iowa State. The offense looks very similar to what the Penn State offense looked like after they stopped doing all the gimmicky plays. So looks like they were able to run the ball effectively, especially against Iowa. The tight ends played a pivotal role. They were getting downfield. They were blocking for the running game. They were being open in the passing game. So Taylor Mauser, if he can handle, he was able to handle both at Iowa State, so maybe he can handle both at Penn State. Ryan Clanton was Iowa State's offensive line coach. He's going to replace Phil Troutwine. Dion Broomfield is coming in as the secondary coach. He was under Matt Campbell at Iowa State for, I believe, 3 years. So I think Terry Smith is definitely going to be that associate head coach. If you have a secondary coach, I don't know if you necessarily have a cornerbacks coach, but maybe they tag team that. Skip Brabenek is going to be chief of staff. Derek Hoosier, we talked about him as being the GM. They hired Jack Griffith, who was at Cincinnati for 3 years for the Bearcats. He's coming in as the assistant GM and being more the head of that recruiting aspect of GM. And then Aaron Hillman, director of sports and performance ops. Reed Kagi, Kagy, Kagy, pronunciation unknown. Head strength and conditioning to replace Chuck Losey. Yeah, you said Trace is going to be retained. And then Trent Slatenow is going to be director of player personnel. So really, yeah, they did build the front office up a lot. And then they kind of brought their guys in. Running back coach is still to be determined. Position coaches on the defensive side are to be determined. But, John Heacock hasn't officially been announced as the defensive coordinator yet. So you can't really name a lot of your defensive position coaches until you have a defensive coordinator. So we'll see how that goes. Is Anthony Poindexter in the mix for that? We'll see. I don't know. Hopefully
it would be hard for me to see him to go to Virginia Tech. I know that he's probably a Franklin guy, but he was a stud at Virginia. And that is obviously a very heated rivalry in your part of the world.
Yeah, that'd be like going from Penn State to Pitt. Like, it's just not, might even be worse than that, honestly, because Virginia Tech and Virginia play every year on Thanksgiving. Like, that's their Thanksgiving weekend rivalry. So,
and that's a lateral move, right? Because he's not going to be DC there,
Yeah.
So could he be that at Penn State? I don't know.
But I don't know if that's what we want. Quite frankly, I don't know much of what Poindexter's doing, besides that he's been the assistant head coach and assistant DC for a while. So Noel's going to Tennessee. Tennessee is paying him, I think, 2.2, 2.4, 2.8 over his 3-year deal. So Penn State has to eat, some of that for the first 2 years of that. So probably, $800,000 the first year, $600,000 the second year. Not bad. Because if you're looking at a $7 to $9 million buyout for Jim Knowles and still having to go find a DC, that hurts. But if it's only 1.4 or whatever it is, if they were just paying what's the difference between the two contracts.
And they don't have to buy him out because he went out and got his own job, right? I mean, so I would imagine he's going to have to pay the university at some point.
I think Penn State is paying they're paying some sort of buyout. It's not public. I would imagine it's the difference between the two contracts.
But that's the thing. Like that's a good deal, right? Good deal. If he's not going to be retained, it is what it is. The other thing before we get to the next segment is Matt Campbell was hired on Monday. The transfer portal opened for 5 days. And only one current player, that was Elliot Washington. He joined Joey Schlafer, who joined prior to Matt Campbell even being hired. That speaks volumes for A, Terry Smith, B, what's to come for Penn State. Obviously, the portal will open after the season. But in that early window, they retained their entire roster, save for 2 people. Even I guess if you really want to say only one person. That is huge as far as roster retention goes. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a boatload of seniors. At the same time, that is going to help tremendously going into the offseason if they can contain and maintain that roster.
Yeah, I think the one player I'm really watching is Tony Rojas. I know he's hurt. He's got the ACL injury. Like, he wouldn't be available until next year. Anyways, but how that recovery goes, and he was just an absolute Tasmanian devil on the field. And when he was lost on the defense, that defense lost a massive part of its soul. So really interested to see. I think that's the player I'm watching. The fact that he hasn't left yet, positive. But he might just be waiting until the DC is, and hopefully, he's probably hoping that the defensive coordinator's installed before the transfer portal opens. I don't know if he's leaving. Like, I think from the audio that got leaked from Pat Kraft, which we didn't really talk about that much, but that's all right, whatever. It definitely felt like Pat Kraft was worried about Rojas leaving. King Mack coming back to Penn State from Alabama, obviously came back for James Franklin. He's probably another name that you could look at leaving. I think he's probably got one more year of eligibility left. So those are probably 2 of the names on the defensive side of the ball that I'm watching. Offense, like, a lot of the guys are seniors that are leaving. Like, obviously pretty much the entire starting offensive line is going to be gone. The only one gone from the tight end room is going to be Dinkins, and then the 2 running backs are gone. Singleton and Allen. Aller's obviously gone. So, if Matt can retain Ethan Grunkemeyer, I don't know if Rocco Beck's going to leave Iowa State. I think he would have probably announced already that he was leaving after that coaching change on the Iowa State end. So, I guess, have they announced their coach yet?
Yes. Yeah, so they did it pretty immediately. Yeah, they got that from Washington State.
That's right. So their transfer portal window would have opened, and I've not seen Rocco Beck leaving. So pack your bags because they got Louis coming. Maybe not the case for Matt Campbell's transfer portal approach.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too is we don't know necessarily how I think he's mentioned he wants to hammer the high schools, but that's not always a proven commodity. But the portal isn't either, and it does speak volumes for a guy that claims he was a player's coach that none of his players have followed him yet to bring Virginia Tech. And this is no disrespect to Tech, but most of the people at Penn State are probably as talented, if not more talented, than those at Virginia Tech right now. But it's certainly something to have a player's coach than have a coach that's a player. And we're gonna talk about that here in the second segment of the Lasching Out Podcast. When we come back on the Nittany Sports Now Network. Welcome back to the second segment of the Lasching Out Podcast on the Sports Now Network. He's Kevin. I'm Jarrod. Kevin, this college, I love chaos, right? Like, I love the fact that Duke won, which is hard for me to say as somebody that's a Carolina basketball fan. That was the first and only time I'll ever root for Duke. Duke wins. Notre Dame gets boned. Notre Dame then says, hey, we're going to take our ball and go home. And then they take their ball and go home. That seems like it was 6 months ago after all the stuff that went down in Ann Arbor because Sherrone Moore can't seem to stay away from his secretary. And, and it's funny because this is a situation that should have never happened, right? Listen, the morality of it, you want to step out of your relationship, it is what it is. That's your call, whatever. But then that's honestly that's probably the least part of this all, right? Like the dude gives his mistress, who is his secretary, a $50,000 raise at one point, and they name a sandwich after her at the Brown Jug, which is a little weird. I don't think that there are many executive assistants, the head football coach at any university, getting a sandwich named after them. But such is life. And that's also the place that Jim Harbaugh is known for his burgers and recruiting. And then, she breaks it off, goes to the university after claiming that nothing ever happened. Oh, and then it did. And then he breaks into her house and threatens to kill himself with butter knives, and then runs away. And now he's arrested, and he's gotten charged with 3 counts of stalking and all kinds of other stuff. And what is going on, man?
Yeah. How to make a bad situation worse is not only do you step out on your wife, which is obviously terrible, but then once it all comes out, that you then go and commit 3 crimes right off the bat.
Yeah. The stepping out in your marriage is probably the most excusable thing that is in there, and that sucks to say, but like comparatively speaking to the 3 crimes, it is 100% only. That's the one that if you just do that in 2 years or a year or two, you probably have a job somewhere, right? And like Bobby Petrino is a perfect example, right? Him and his mistress got caught on the motorcycle after he crashed. He ends up coaching at Arkansas again. He went through, that coming of age type of deal. He learned from his mistakes, allegedly. You're hearing all these rumors about Lane Kiffin and not being able to stay away from sorority parties at Ole Miss and whatever. But, it's one of those situations where he made a bad situation 25 times worse by his actions in just raging, I guess, against the machine there, if you will.
Yeah, and also like very sloppy in it, like doubling your assistant salary from 1 year to the next. Like at least like tier that thing up, do some bonuses, whatever. Like the paper trail was there, and then because
the paper trail was an exhausting list of stuff, right? And that's it's crazy between the OnlyFans models that have come out and saying he was messaging them at halftime, the one that said he messaged them after he got out of jail. Like, what are we doing, dog? Like, come on. Like, that's the whole part of the reason. So that to me sells. He thinks he didn't do anything wrong. Number one, the rumor is that like, one of the things that tripped him off is he had Plan B sent to the football building via DoorDash. Like,
and the DoorDash driver ratted him out.
Right.
Like,
and there are rumors that he kicked Bryce Underwood out of the facility at night to get some extra when he wanted to get extra film in. And it's, like those are all, it's all speculation, because I think, again, this is another one in the long line of Michigan fumbling an investigation. Like, this is, I think the numbers, there have been 11 arrests or bans from college football in Jim Harbaugh's tenure, like from the Harbaugh era, if you will. And I still count Sherrone Moore as part of that era because he took over for Harbaugh. We saw him at Beaver Stadium, back when it was Beaver Stadium, not West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium, crying his eyes out when his guy got caught, right? When he won that game and Harbaugh was watching from the hotel, right? Then, now you put into perspective when they went through the Connor Stallion stuff, why he broke his phone in the first place. It wasn't because he was mad at Connor Stallions. Every single person involved knew exactly what was going on and was all for it. It ended up the way they wanted it to. That team won the national championship, but he deleted. I would imagine he shattered the shit out of his phone and deleted it all because he was cheating on his wife.
Yeah, and the thing to come out next is, how long did Michigan know? Allegedly, there was a investigation early. Like, this has been going on for up to a year. Rumors, I wouldn't say rumors. There was traction in the national media very early in about October. No names were given, but like something is going to come down it is going to be seismic in college football. Nothing, and this is what they were talking about. So the fact that there was stuff getting to the media in October about this and nothing comes out and he's not fired in the middle of the season.
Conveniently
Well,
after they lose to Ohio State.
well, not only that, but they wait until after National Signing Day. So he gets his whole recruiting class. And I do believe Bryce Underwood is hitting the transfer portal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's going to be gone. But this is going to come down to is how long did Ward Manuel, athletic director at Michigan alumnus, who's been in the athletic director for almost 10 years at this point in time, how long did he know? And was the first investigation inconclusive, or was the first investigation missing just enough amount of details where they didn't have to do anything? But now it breaks. Now he's got to fire him, obviously. But how long did you know? And were you trying to cover it up? And it's not at this level, but like, is it a USA Gymnastics scenario where like, man, we keep winning, like kind of keep this under the rug, and then, finally there's enough. I don't want to call them loudmouths because the victims in the USA Gymnastics should have come forward, like obviously, but like, was there enough loudmouths around Michigan where it's like, man, we can't ignore this anymore? And was it just that the relationship went sideways that he was hosting on the side, and then she started to get noisy, and that's how it started getting traction again. But what a mess. Terrible timing for Michigan if you're trying to find a football coach. Taylor Lewan calling for Michigan to hire away Matt Campbell from Penn State on GetUp. Speaks highly of how well Penn State did getting their coach, and that Taylor Lewan's immediately calling for them to spend some $75, $80 million to Penn State to buy out Matt Campbell to then give him probably another $80 million contract. Not that that's remotely economically feasible, but it's makes you feel good as a Penn State fan, media member that, hey, Michigan wants the guy that you just got, but Michigan fired their guy a week too late. Now they can't get him at all. So, Jeff Monken apparently is one of the names on their list. Like if we're going down the service academies for head coaching candidates, not that Jeff Monken is a bad coach, but
I think he's done, he's doing a great job, really well, even though his Army team lost to Navy. But it's just one of those situations where, again, Michigan has botched a multitude of different things over the course of Harbaugh's tenure and even before. This is another one that's had some issues off the field that, at Michigan, things just don't go well. Same deal at Michigan State, right? You have all these issues and, oh, look, they're pretty bad and we're just going to ignore them and hope for the best. And listen, there's never a convenience in firing your coach and their investigation. Hey, are you guys together? No. Okay, cool. See ya. It reminds me of a scene in Community where Jeff Winger is with his professor. And they both say no. And they're like, okay, well, you two are very attractive. It wouldn't be a shock to us, but that's illegal. Don't let it happen. And then, later in the episode, they get caught together and yada, yada, yada. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. And it's so funny to me because it doesn't, like, they were just so sloppy about it. And that's, I'm not, by no means is that condoning what happened. I think it's the way this all went about and everything is terrible. But at least like you were begging to be caught, man. Like you just have to be smart. And now Michigan again is swept through the mud, and it begs the question, right? If you could go back in time, and I told you in 2019, this is what was going to happen to Michigan, and they're still going to have a national championship, and they're going to go undefeated, and they're going to win. Is it worth the national championship?
I don't think so. Like, people aren't even talking about Michigan's national title. It doesn't feel like anymore. Like, it's so marred. Like the Connor Stallions thing is floating around. Like obviously that's the cheating scandal, but like all of that's coming around. The show causes out to Harbaugh, to Minter. Harbaugh's gone.
Minter's runs out December 15th, by the way.
Yeah, like Minter's just gone. Harbaugh's just gone. Sherrone Moore's there, and
now he's gone.
Yeah, now he's gone. Like the whole season there, like the allegations of cheating were throughout that entire season. So, yeah, did they win it on the field? Yeah, but there was a trash can banging in the outfield. It seemed like so.
It always had an asterisk to begin with.
Yeah. So like, is there any credibility to it in 2025? Like, no, I really don't think so. Were other teams doing it? Yeah, probably. But just like the trash can scandal, like the Yankees were cheating, the Red Sox were cheating using Apple Watches. Like, there are a bunch of teams cheating in the American League that year, but one of them was doing it way worse than everybody else, or cheating way more effectively than everybody else. And at that point in time, you're going to get caught. And if you're the person that gets caught, you're the person that's going to get all the blame. So it kind of feels like where Michigan is. It kind of feels like where Sherrone Moore is. I feel bad for his wife and his 3 children. He's got 3 young girls.
Yeah, to see this play out in public has got to be awful.
Yeah, that's got to be good. So,
and this is helping. This is helping Penn State in a way that it takes heat off of everything that they've done recently as far as the coaching search goes, but also it can add some people to the portal and national letters of intent that get canceled because of this. But also it's helping Matt Campbell slowly climb up the tenure ladder in the Big Ten. Pat Fitzgerald was hired at Michigan State, and I think that's a really good hire for Michigan State. Whatever's going on in the Mitten State is with their head coaches is awful. And obviously, because Sherrone Moore is an African American, Jamel Hill had something to say about it being racially involved, that he got fired, and if the white guy this happened to, would have been gone. And the first person I thought it was Bobby Petrino, because he was yanked. And then you got Bob Chesney out at UCLA now, and it's and they're throwing all kinds of names at the wall here for Michigan as they look for their new head coach in a really bad time. We said this, I think, before for Penn State search. Not a single coach wants to go through what Lane Kiffin went through. If you want a coach that matters, they're still coaching. Obviously, you got a bowl game coming up, and the playoffs start here soon. But man, like, you don't want that bad PR, because Lane Kiffin is still dealing with it, and this has taken a lot of heat off of that, but it's a very, very tricky situation now. And it's going to be a tricky situation moving forward.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, Kalen DeBoer's name pops up for Michigan. It was crazy that it popped up for Penn State, but now it's just thrown out there on the Michigan search. I think that's kind of funny to see.
He did release a statement saying he was never interested. They're working on an extension, but nothing has been signed. But
sure.
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and it's good that coaches are being named. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. And fortunately for Penn State and Penn State fans, this is not a situation that they have to personally deal with. And that's the best thing. For Michigan fans, good luck. Because you want to talk about the Michigan man. Well, that definition of Michigan man and Sherrone Moore is way out the window. And maybe smash as a slogan probably wasn't the best bet.
Yeah, Harbaugh was a Michigan man. Ward Manuel's a Michigan man. Obviously, Sherrone Moore is. Is Jesse Minter? Was he a Michigan alumnus, or is he just part of the Harbaugh? Yeah, so tough day to be a Michigan man. We'll see how it plays out for him. I kind of feel bad for the fan base. I don't feel bad for Dave Portnoy at all, but I feel bad for the fan base that they haven't been able to truly celebrate their national title.
But
so
I think it is good for football fans because we get to see Biff Poggi in action, and he's an absolute unit. But we're going to talk more about when we'll get to see Biff on the field for Michigan and other teams surrounding college football when we talk about bowl season when we come back for the third and final segment of the Lasching Out Podcast on the Nittany Sports Now Network. Welcome back to the third and final segment of the Lasching Out Podcast, the Nittany Sports Now Network. He's Kevin. I'm Jarrod. Kevin, let's get right to it. Let's pick our bowl games. All of them. You're writing them down. I am not. Undoubtedly, I will be asking you for who I picked in the coming future, which is always a nice little text I'm sure you like to get. But here we go.
It's tough when the way I have my Excel sheet formatted that I can't easily take the screenshot for you. But all right, let's see. We did miss the Boise State Washington and the
That's fine. I would have lost that one.
Bucked up LA Bowl. Washington.
RIP to that bowl game, by the way.
Good performance for UW. There. Good rep for the Big Ten. All right.
We don't that one anymore.
Starting Tuesday at 9 p.m., prime TV window. Troy faces Jacksonville State in the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. That is in Montgomery, Alabama. Troy is a 2.5-point favorite. Troy was very competitive against JMU, so I'll take them.
I like Troy too. Jarrod Parker.
Yeah, no reason for you to root for him, huh? Wednesday at 5 p.m., the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. Interesting. ODU is taking on South Florida at Camping World in Orlando.
Camping World Stadium hosts 3 different bowl games, which is crazy.
I'm going to go – I'm going to go ODU. I'm
going to go with South Florida. Go Bulls.
I want to root for the Bulls, but I got to root for my hometown team. The Raging Cajuns take on the Delaware Blue Hens, who I forgot was an FBS, in the 68 Ventures Bowl. That is also Wednesday night. The Raging Cajuns, basically playing a home game, are a 3-point favorite. How can I root against the Raging Cajuns?
I spent an entire summer just outside of Lafayette, Louisiana. I got to go with the Raging Cajuns.
All right. Xbox Bowl, the replacement for the Bahamas Bowl, while the Bahamas Stadium is getting updated, going under renovations.
This is being played at the Cowboys practice facility.
Ford Center at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Definitely be tuning in. That is Thursday night at 9 p.m. So another great TV window for those who work. Arkansas State's a 1.5-point favorite. I have no idea. I'm gonna go with Missouri State.
I was gonna go with them too. I have no idea about that one.
All right. All right. Let's see.
The Myrtle Beach Bowl presented by Engine, Friday, December 19th. Kennesaw State versus Western Michigan in Conway, South Carolina, 11 a.m.
That is where the Chanticleers play.
Yeah.
Anytime a directional Michigan's involved, I got to go with them. So I'm going to go
Kennesaw State, man. They are one of the best stories in college football. I got Kennesaw State.
All right, 2:30 p.m. on ESPN. Also on Friday at Raymond James Stadium is a Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. I'll let you pick first. I've been picking first a lot.
I got Memphis in this one. I like what they're doing. Obviously, they're going to have a new coach coming in, but I like Memphis.
All right, I'll go with the Wolfpack. I like their quarterback. I forget his name, but he what's his name?
That game's at 2:30.
He's been playing really well this season for him. I think he's a young guy. Bailey, CJ Bailey. He's a sophomore. Yeah, 6'6", 210. Rough 60% completion percentage, but I pulled up the NC State Wolfpack stats on ESPN, and I got the Cincinnati Bengals stats. That was really helpful.
Close.
Let's see. Washington State takes on Utah State in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Utah State is a 3-point favorite. I picked them earlier in the season, which was our differentiating game of the weekend. So I gotta ride with my Aggies there.
I'm gonna go with Utah State too, because I think Washington State is in a bad spot, given that they just had their coach go to Iowa State. This is at Albertson Stadium, home of my beloved Boise State Broncos. That game's at 2 p.m. on the ESPN on Monday, December 22nd. As always, bowl games don't run against the NFL. And that puts this game at 2 p.m. on a Monday afternoon, just the way God intended.
Tuesday, 2 o'clock, Toledo, Louisville, in the Bush's Baked Beans Boca Raton Bowl.
No. It's the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of beans. You have to get that name right.
Sorry, incorrect. Still, I'm going with Cardinal.
Yeah, go Cardinal. And that's going to be at Boca Raton. Unfortunately, that winning coach is not going to get a bowl of baked beans dumped on them, which is a shame. Also, that game's at 2:00, so nobody's going to see it.
5:30 on Tuesday, Western Kentucky versus Southern Miss in the New Orleans Bowl in the Dome. Is Huggy still at Southern Miss?
I'm not sure.
Go ahead and pick it.
I got Hilltoppers. Go Western Kentucky.
Sorry, I thought you would. Charles Huff. Yeah, Huff is still there. Just for that, I'm going to go Southern Miss. Yeah.
Another bowl game at the Star. Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. UNLV in Ohio. I'm going UNLV because Ohio's football coach head coach was suspended and nobody knows why.
All right. Well, since you gave me that, I'm glad you picked that game first. I'll go UNLV as well. Thank you. On Wednesday, Christmas Eve, 8 p.m. in Hawaii, California. The Sheridan Hawaii Bowl. Cal faces Hawaii. I'm going Cal. I think Cal has had some splashiness this week or this year.
Give me Timmy Chang in Hawaii, baby, just like the mid-2000s. At the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex in Honolulu. They're on the main island. They're ready to go. That game's at 8 p.m., which is probably like noon in Hawaii time.
On Friday, they skip Christmas. On Friday, the Game Above Sports Bowl. That is the most generic bowl game of all bowl games. From Ford Field, Michigan. Central Michigan takes on Northwestern. I know earlier, about 5 games ago, I said if it's directional Michigan, I have to pick them. I really love what Northwestern's done this season. I think I got to go with my Wildcats.
For that, I'm going to go Central Michigan just because you're not taking a directional Michigan and you went back on your word.
Yeah, it's directional Michigan is against like the other group of 5 teams. The directional Michigan against Power 4 got a little tough one. The Rate Bowl, whatever the hell that is. New Mexico faces Minnesota in Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm just going to go New Mexico for the hell of it.
Minnesota, PJ Fleck, baby, row the boat. Row the boat in the Rate Bowl.
All right, we have the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. These 2 games are all on Friday. New Mexico's at 4:30.
Friday, December 26th, Boxing Day in Canada.
8 p.m. FIU takes on UTSA at Gerald Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas, home of SMU, I do believe.
Yes.
I'm going to go UTSA.
I'm going to go with Mr. Worldwide University. That was one of James Franklin's 3 big wins this year. So we're going to go with that. So there are what? 3 different bowl games in the Dallas metropolitan area this year. Or no, more than that, because they obviously got the Cotton Bowl at Jerry World.
All right. On Saturday in the Go Bowling Military Bowl from Annapolis, Maryland, Pitt takes on East Carolina. I think it's Pitt.
You would hope it's Pitt. Yeah, I'm going to take Pitt too. This is from who plays? Is that? That's not where. Who plays there?
It's Navy Stadium.
That's what I thought. It was Naval Academy. But they all talked about Penn State and Pitt playing in the Pinstripe Bowl, and that would have been horrible for both teams. Simply because A, it would have been insufferable, but B, like that's a game that should not be played outside of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Which brings us to the next game, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl.
No, we got to
the Quigley Cup.
We can't pick that this week. We got a content for our pregame show.
Well, yes.
So we're going to skip that one. 2:15 Saturday, ESPN, which will overlay the end of the Penn State Clemson game. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl. UConn takes on Army. UConn's going to be under the jurisdiction of a new head coach. Army just played a gritty game against Navy. I think they'll be able to grind it out against the Huskies.
Yeah. Army.
Our favorite bowl of them all, the granddaddy of them all, as they like to
Yes.
say on the East Coast. Georgia Tech faces BYU in the Pop-Tarts Bowl from also Camping World Stadium. As much as I loved Georgia Tech earlier in the season, I think I got to go with the Cougs.
Yeah, I was going to go with BYU too. I mean, I think they're playing some spirited football now that, Sataki is still there, and Georgia Tech has been far from impressive recently.
Yeah. Let's see. In the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, Miami of Ohio takes on Fresno State. Fresno State's a 3.5-point favorite. I think I got to go back somewhat on my word. We'll say Miami of Ohio is a equivalent to a directional Michigan. I'll pick them.
You got Miami of Ohio. Let's go Fresno State.
A lot of games that we're differing on, which is good. Most of them because we have no idea what the hell's going on. Isleta, ISLETA, New Mexico Bowl. North Texas takes on San Diego State. I got UNT.
I got North Texas too. I don't know much about San Diego State other than their Aztecs. But go North Texas.
All these games are on Saturday. Miami of Ohio is at 4:30. The Arizona Bowl is at 4:30. Pop-Tarts Bowl is at 3:30 on ABC. Miami plays on the CW. So Snoop Dogg paid a lot of money to be the title sponsor to end up on the CW, which is awesome. North Texas will be ESPN at 5:45 in the New Mexico Bowl. 7:30 p.m. the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl from Jacksonville. Number 19 Virginia takes on Missouri. As much of a fairy tale season as Virginia's had, no, I'm gonna pick them. I'm gonna go with Cavaliers.
I'm gonna go Mizzou, man. Eli Drinkwitz got that extension, and I mean, I was not impressed by Virginia when they got beat by Duke. The Tax Slayer Bowl was the first game that I ever covered for Penn State that was Christian Hackenberg's last game.
Yeah, that was actually a pivotal game.
Like Georgia.
In the Kinder's Texas Bowl, LSU takes on Houston at NRG Stadium in Houston. For that reason, got to pick the hometown team.
I'm going to go with LSU. I have no idea what to expect from them, but they've been on the lane train for a couple of weeks by then. Let's see what happens.
In the J-Lab Birmingham Bowl on Monday. That's at LSU Houston is at 9:15 on that Saturday, December 27th. Probably going up against the NFL at that point in time. Birmingham Bowl, J-Lab, Georgia Southern takes on App State. I'm going to go Georgia Southern.
Go App State, go Mountaineers. That's a protective stadium in Birmingham, Alabama.
On Tuesday, December 30th at 2 p.m., Coastal Carolina Chanticleers takes on La Tech. I'm going to go with the La Tech as well. Another hometown team.
I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina. I like the Chanticleers.
And that is the Radiance Technology Bowl.
And Radiance Technology
Independence. Sorry.
At Independence Stadium in Shreveport, Louisiana.
All right, so I got La Tech, and you have Coastal. Sorry, this is not good content if I'm just typing the whole time. In the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee, home of the Tennessee Titans Nissan Stadium. Tennessee, with their newfound defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, who won't likely be installed by then, takes on Illinois. A game of like two early season potential Heisman favorites. I don't know if Luke Altmaier ever hit the Heisman level. Maybe on the preseason a little bit, but once they started getting traction, maybe he was on there, and then Joey Aguilar maybe was on there. As much as I want to root for the Big Ten, I think it's going to be the Vols.
I'm going to go with Brett Bielema. I like it. I haven't really been impressed at all by Tennessee this year. This is a great game for the color orange. Go Illini.
Tennessee's got a weird orange side note. Valero Alamo Bowl, 9 p.m. on that Tuesday as well. Number 16 USC takes on TCU. As much as it pains me to root for Lincoln Riley, I got to go with the Trojans.
Yeah, go Trojans. As much as I wouldn't mind rooting for TCU, I just think USC has significant amounts of talent.
Wednesday, December 31st. Just a reminder, we are previewing the playoff games at the end of this, so if you don't care about a lot of these bowls, go ahead and skip forward a little bit. Get our thoughts on that. The ReliaQuest Bowl, Wednesday, December 30th at noon. Wednesday, December 31st at noon, also from Raymond James Stadium. Iowa takes on Vanderbilt and the sore loser Diego Pavia. As much of a – we really got introduced to who Diego Pavia was through the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Like, congrats to Fernando Mendoza for winning it, but, like, everybody in their interviews was, like, humble and just, like, happy to be here, and Diego Pavia was just the most arrogant prick I've ever heard in any sort of interview. That being said, he's a good football player. I think they're going to handle Iowa pretty handily.
I'm going to go with Iowa. I just think that it's important that I don't know that Vanderbilt has faced a defense quite like the Hawkeyes. So I'm going to go with Iowa and Kirk Ferentz just because normally everybody loves an underdog, but this dude is the most unlikable underdog I think I've ever seen exist.
Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, 2 p.m. on CBS. That is Wednesday, New Year's Eve. Arizona State and Duke. I want to pick my Blue Devils.
I'm going to go with Kenny Dillingham. Sun Devils, baby. This is a great, Sun Devils versus Blue Devils, man.
Battle of the Devils. That is in El Paso, Texas.
Devil went down to El Paso, Texas.
Not quite how the song goes. I'll let it slide. At 3 p.m. on that date, number 18 Michigan takes on number 13 Texas in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, also from Camping World Stadium. I don't think we have to say who this is. This is going to be Texas.
Texas by 2 touchdowns.
Texas is 7.5 point favorite currently.
Was that pre-scandal or post-scandal?
This is live. These are live spreads, so I don't know. It opened at 4.5, so it has moved 3 points.
So go Texas.
It's moved 3 points. I would not be surprised if it moves more. And then the last traditional bowl game of the season. Actually, no, there's several more.
Yeah.
SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Nebraska takes on Utah from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Oh,
I've got Utah because it's going to be Kyle Whittingham's last game at Utah. Very weird retirement announcement, by the way. Or that he's not coaching at Utah anymore. Like, very, very bizarre. But
he does have a coach in waiting. He's been there for a while. Maybe he's just. It's not even a retirement. It's just.
And they had just gone private. They just went to got private equity involved. So like,
yeah, maybe that's what did it. But shout out to Kenny Dillingham. I think he's been there for 20 years, and he's Kyle, yes. Oof, my bad. By far the winningest head coach in Utah history, and like most 10-win season, most bowl wins, all you name it, he has the record for it. So props to him. Good career there. Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, Friday, January 2nd. Rice takes on Texas State from M&G Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas.
Now that's the way a bowl game should be. 2 teams from Texas.
Yeah, I have no idea. Go ahead and pick this one. I'll let you. I'll pick opposite of you.
I got Rice, man.
All right, I got Texas State. Ooh. They look like Bobcats.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
It looks like it.
Yeah, Texas State Bobcats. Texas State Bobcats. Let's go Bobcats. Here we go.
M&G Carter Stadium is an awesome place to watch a bowl game. I will say that.
At 4:30 on Friday, AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Navy takes on Cincinnati.
Go Goats. Roll Goats.
I didn't hear what you said, but then it processed. You're taking Navy. Okay. Sorry. In the Trustin Will Holiday Bowl, Friday, January 2nd, 8 p.m., Arizona takes on SMU. You know, I got to take my guy, Noah Fifita.
SMU, baby. Mustangs. Snapdragon Stadium is the name for what I would imagine everybody thinks used to be Qualcomm Stadium.
Yeah, I'm just here on a Qualcomm. Duke's Mayo Bowl, 8 p.m. on Friday, so double. You get your pick: Arizona SMU or Wake Forest Mississippi State. Mississippi State is 5-7. Technically did not get to bowl eligibility, but they ran out of teams. The 2.5-point favorite over 8-4 Wake Forest.
Wake Forest go for this one, Kevin.
I'm going Wake.
Yeah, I got Wake Forest too. But this is the single greatest game outside the Pop-Tarts Bowl, just for shenanigans and seeing people get dumped with a bucket of mayo. Last year, I think it was PJ Fleck, and he was wearing all white, so that was great. The mascot is Tubby, which is I think hilarious to me
because he's a tub of mayo.
Yeah. And they did like some really cool fan stuff too. So like they at least get into it. And I think that's what makes it fun. But let's get into the actual games that matter the most in the college football playoff.
All right. 8 p.m. Friday, December 19th. Alabama, number 9, heads to number 8, Oklahoma Boomer Sooner. Game is in Norman, Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium. Alabama's a 1.5-point favorite. Oklahoma won the matchup earlier this year, 1.5-point favorites. That was late in the season. Home game, night in Norman, Oklahoma. Doesn't look like it's going to be terribly cold. Excuse me, but I do think the Sooners get it done.
Yeah, I do too. Alabama's got a lot of noise outside the program right now. Obviously, what happened on the preview or for the playoff for them to get in, and they just haven't been playing really good football. Now they were banged up against the Dogs, but I like the way that Oklahoma's playing right now, and it's at home, and it's a playoff game. Like Boomer Sooner.
The only other potential competitive game of the season of the weekend, Saturday, December 20th, noon, the first of the first round games on Saturday. Number 10, Miami travels to number 7, Texas A&M game from Kyle Field. Texas A&M is a 3.5-point favorite. I'll let you pick this one first.
This is a tough one because both teams I think are fake. I don't think that either team is a great team, but this has to be a game won by A&M to just shut up the ACC. And also prove that you can win a big game again. Their biggest win, I think, is Notre Dame. And obviously that's a Notre Dame team that elected not to play in a playoff game. But in the other game that they played that was against the team with the pulse, they lost. So A&M has a lot to prove, and they need to come away with a win over the Hurricanes. This is another game outside the state of Florida. Who knows what the weather's going to be like at noon at Kyle Field. But I think this is where A&M has to win.
Yeah, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. But I think both of these teams are incredibly fake. Easy cupcake schedules all the way through. But if you're the SEC, like you cannot lose to the ACC team that basically got in as the conference champ, even though they didn't play as the conference champ. This is like the sympathy prize. Like, we needed ACC representation.
This is like being this is like being at the bar. It's closing time. Your best friend and your champion took home the trophy, which is the 10. This is the 10. And then your guy that was just with the friend group just went home, but isn't like your best friend because he's not really affiliated with this actual friend group. Just took his ball and went home, didn't take anybody home. And so this is your third best option. This is like the 4, and just hoping that you don't wake up regretting it type of deal.
Yeah. Those
Notre Dame being the friend that's not really affiliated.
Those are the first two. Those first 2 games are on the ABC networks, ESPN networks, excuse me. The next 2 are on TNT. So 3:30 p.m. Tulane travels to Ole Miss, even with all of the the clouds surrounding the Ole Miss program. Ole Miss is just a far better team. Tulane's in there as that group of 5 representative conference champ. I don't see this being a problem for Ole Miss.
Listen, I love Pete Golding. He might be one of my new favorite coaches at Ole Miss. Like, dude's just so real. Again, like, it goes back to that being genuine. Yeah, I got Ole Miss by a lot.
Yeah, Ole Miss won the matchup, 45-10 earlier this season against Tulane. So just kind of gives you a scope.
And, John Summerall's half in, half out. Like, what's that going to look like?
Yeah. And another coach that's going to be half in, half out, Bob Chesney, number 12, James Madison, heading to Eugene, take on number 5, Oregon. Mississippi, Ole Miss is a 17.5-point favorite. JMU is a 21.5-point dog to James Madison. Again, another one of those Cinderella stories, but I don't think there's going to be a happy ending here.
No, I got Oregon by a lot. Oregon's really good. They are in a great spot because they're the Penn State bracket from last year, right? Like, you get James Madison, and then you get probably a lesser of the champion in the bracket next round if you win. Like, they have the same path that Penn State did last year, and that was a great path for the Nittany Lions. I will say this about James Madison. James Madison, JMU Sports News on Twitter has been an absolutely incredible Twitter follow throughout this entire football playoff process. So if you have a chance, go follow those guys. Like, they are doing some actually absolutely god tier work.
Oregon Texas Tech is awaiting the winner of that game. Winner of Alabama, Oklahoma will face Indiana. Winner of Tulane, Ole Miss will face Georgia. And the winner of Texas A&M, Miami will face Ohio State. So there you have it. There's the bowl season, at least through the first round of the playoff, and then every other crazy bowl that there was, over 20-some minutes of bowl game picks that we went. So thanks for listening. If you made it this far, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Our handles are on the video as well. So,
Kevin, any parting shots before we go?
No, I think this episode has gone way too long, so we'll cut it short.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Lasching Out Podcast on the Nittany Sports Now Network. We'll catch you again later this week. Peace.